Back at it one more time for the third and final of the Fatal Fury filmiverse, as I want to call it. We're going full-on movie now, like an hour and a half and change for Fatal Fury the motion picture. We got some original characters for this one, so don't think this movie is all about Fatal Fury 3. That's its own thing, which I'll get to after next week. They'll be back to the games after this one. Anyways, got this cool art through here and there. Yeah, somehow there was like a guidebook by Shinkido that came out a little bit later on. If the SNK Wiki has got a whole article on this, they mentioned as I looked through this on my own, it was supposed to be apparently about Ryo Sakazaki teaming up with Terry and all those guys to fight Mr. Big and Eiji and stuff like that. And I guess they could have brought Gisin back for that, but that was like young Gisa. I'm like, I guess the idea got axed for whatever reason. Anyway, if you missed Chang Sin-zan from not being in the last movie, he's in this one. Just hanging out in Alexandria, Egypt, taking a flamethrower to a fucking scorpion. Already like a minute or two in and awesome shit's happening. Yeah, even though this movie's a little bit longer, shit still goes by a little fast and a little too... We get that. We get another trope of the first two movies of like, wow, word travels fast. Like the villains know what's going on, so we just gotta keep the pace rolling. I've seen this movie like a couple of times. I said, I think I remember saying at one point it was like on, like if you had the Sci-Fi Channel on like Saturday nights or something like that, this would go on. I saw it like a couple times, and I'm like, oh shit, Fatal Fury has a movie, awesome. But yeah, why is Chang in Egypt? I assume he's just still a rich bastard here. He was in the games too. He's on this archaeological dig for the Armor of Mars, our MacGuffin for this movie. As the dig concludes, some rough-looking customers show up to do the whole village. One dude just rat-its a dude firing at him with a pistol just for starting shit. Like, totally farming with shotguns, the guy. Dead. So it's like a big dude with red hair, a woman, and a skinny, lively-looking dude. Chang manages to grab a Jeep, and he's just driving through all this. He's like, I escaped all three of you guys. Only to get blown up by guy number 4 just standing in the middle straight. He's gonna ram him. He's like, out of my way! And boom. Somehow Chang survives this, and guy number 4 is like, hey, return this thing you took. Chang tries to throw a key bowl at him. I guess he misses a shot because Chang just gets gut punched and dealt with. He puts that armor piece on and flexes DBZ style. He says, 3 pieces of armor found, 3 to go. Maybe a bit of typecasting because it's fucking Matt Hill. You know, Ronan Warriors will recognize him as Armor One Fire! Collecting God of Mars. Mars is usually like fire and like and stuff like that. Collecting pieces of mystical armor? I'm just saying. But yeah, our villain of the movie, Laucorn Godimus, who proclaims godhood upon finding the rest of the armor. So then somewhere Terry Bogard is like, oh, this storm's coming. Title drop. Now to Japan, where Joe Higashi, back from injuries sustained from Krauser in our last film, is set to have a title defense against returning Hua Jai. Mai and Andy are in the suits watching this go down. Yeah, Hua Jai back from Fatal Fury 1 years before KOF 13 would bring him back for real. So, I mean, he's in there from time to time. Joe does stuff from... There's never brought him as like a playable character. He's always a cameo. Joe's getting pummeled. His mind's worried about Joe not fighting back due to his injuries. Andy's like, nah, he's just warming up. And sure enough, Joe wins after like a lengthy bout. It's just like one shot. After the fight, Joe celebrates with Mai and Andy, the latter wondering, where is Terry? He's so late. He's apparently off, getting his ass beat at Neo Geo arcade sticks as much as I do. Like, he's just in Neo Geo land. From the sounds of the machine, it's him getting owned by a computer and using Terry because of course. And because of the music, I hear Andy's theme. It's either 2 or special, but it's Andy's theme pasta. Before this is going on, there's just this one girl like running through, and I think like the dub line of the whole movie of just like one kid going around. He's like, I guess it was just like such a throwaway line. They had to put something in there, but it's just so hilarious. It's always been the point of hilarity. It was just like, yeah, man, I saw your sister naked. Like, wait, what? If I was good at abridging, that would be like a full like minute and a half on just like whoa, wait, what'd you say? Like just let that sit there. But yeah, sure enough, the girl bumps into Terry as he's like gets up. He's like, I'm done playing here. I just came over to Mata Quarters or whatever they do. I've never been to Neo Geo Land. It's a Japan thing only. Would have loved to have gone there. I don't think it exists anymore, sadly, which is unfortunate. Probably even just like Neo Geo machines, like Fatal Fury and Metal Slugs, as far as the eye can see. Anyway, he bumps into this girl who we've seen run through the streets outside being chased down by these skull mask dudes. It's here where the art, on again, off again throughout this movie, is just weirdly move and shift kind of awkwardly for some fight scenes. It's anyway, these skull mask guys just openly in the middle of Neo Geo Land just start some shit with this girl. So Terry like tells her, hey, stay back, and Terry just drops all of them, including one-shotting one of them with like a well-placed crack shoot. I mean, it's Mark Kittrose, he says shot, but we know better, don't we, Terry players? It's crack shoot. Like, his kick's so fierce it just breaks one of the skull masks, and he's just laid unconscious. The girl and Terry separately somehow made it all the way to the next scene, because they're just like there. Like, she shows up this busy party. She asks another guy who was in Fatal Fury 2, the game, but not the Fatal Fury 2 movie, Big Bear. She's like, hey, do you know where Terry Bogard is? Bear's like, I wish I was him, but I'm not, so sorry about that. Kim Campion's here at this party, too, with his wife and 2 kids. They're not all right grown up yet. They're just little. You know, this isn't Garou. Somehow, nobody notices Terry just also happens to be there. I was like, Joe's like, he's probably waiting to make a green entrance. He's like, how's this entrance? Or he's like, hey. How do you miss a guy wearing that sharp red of a hat and jacket? Like, they converse for a while. Another masked dude shows up holding a cadavered up guest. Like, that dude's totally dead. I mean, this masked dude's like a plus size, and Big Bear, like, he's startling guest, and Big Bear just like runs at him. And he gets key blasted to nothing. Like, he starts, like, bleeding out of the mouth. Like, this, I guess because it's a movie thing, you can get a little bit more, like, not T-rated. We'll get to more of that. So, yeah, we're starting getting, like, really bloody. Especially this next fight. Kim's like, he's like, hey, no, I'm going to fight this guy. And Terry warns him, like, hey, go for the mask. So Kim Capuan, he's in a full suit, and he just animates off his fancy clothes to reveal his, like, usual, like, white and blue fighting outfit. Like, oh my god, this is going to be so awesome. And Kim is just getting the shit beat out of him. Like, he's getting in hits, too, but the mask guy is just, like, no-selling his offense. Kim's getting battered, and his wife and kids are just sitting there. Like, Joe's like, I gotta get in there and stop this. Terry's like, whoa. Like, his wife and kids are watching this. But no, it's, of course, that's like one of those anime moments where it's like, Father, don't give up. Like, one of the usually, like, older, quiet kid finally speaks up, and this gives him the resolve to, like, do that, like, upward kick of his. Like, Ginzo. I think that's what it's called. Yeah, and that, like, splits his mask. It reveals like Terry and Joe after the fight, they look him over, and it's like, that's Chang Sin-zan. What the hell happened to him? And the girl shows up like, oh, it's because of the mask they had on. She reveals herself to be named Sulia. She's like, are you Terry Bogard? I'm looking for the man who beat Krauser. I need you to come to Rhodos Island, or like either in the Mediterranean. Terry's a package deal for this movie, so we gotta bring the rest of King of Fighters 99's Fatal Fury team of Andy, Joe, and Mai. Terry knows something big's happened, like, but I'll see the storm through. Okay. This next scene. there's plot dump, and then there's just a full-on diarrhea dose of plot. Because they're just having, like, this, she's just going on about, like, Alexander the Great and all the history of, like what's going on for, like, whatchamacallit. It's not, like, super important, but it kind of is. But it's all overshot of, like, hey, we're just on this plane and we're just having a conversation. But they're not, like, actually, like, saying anything. And then, like, stops in the middle and then starts up again. Anyway. But yeah, Celia mentions, Alexander the Great, someone more powerful than Alexander called Gadamus, stopped him before Alexander could complete his conquest over the planet. The two struck a truce, but Alexander wanted to know more, so he takes Gadamus on a trip, and suddenly Alexander dies. So I think his troops suspect something, so it's like, we're going to set a trap and burn Gadamus alive. But the thing that gave Gadamus so much power, the armor of Mars, survived the flames. This awoke the god of Mars itself, who brought a shitload of destruction until 4 brave heroes put a stop to it. So they break the armor into 6 pieces and bury them in stone and spread those armor pieces all across the globe. Celia and her brother say, like, we're direct descendants of Gadamus. Our country was overthrown after Gadamus' death, and thus the legend was born. The power of the armor will turn the wearer into a berserk god. Tearful, her brother lusts for that power. Suddenly, Terry's got to save Celia from being crushed by a rock slide. He gets, like, cut up in the, Terry's always getting beat up by stuff like that. This time it's not like a pinched nerve or whatever that thing was for, like, 2 that, like, messed with his leg. You start to see, like, actual, like, cut. This is, yeah, once again, this is a movie. We're going to start to see more of this. And so I was like, okay, I'll lay hands on you and, like, do healing stuff. Hey, the cut's all gone. He's like, wait, how'd you do that? And she's all, meh. Like, she passes out a little bit. But after that, more story time. Celia removes this big pendant she was wearing to open a secret passage. There's, like, these cave drawings now depicting Hakyo Seiken stances, so now they're getting tied into this whole thing. Also, the stance of Krauser as well. Celia shows a map where the 3 remaining pieces of the armor are. She knows of 2, one in Baghdad, Iraq, the other in Antakya, Turkey. Last piece's location is not yet known. So, the team splits up. Maya insisting, I'm gonna go with Andy. And Joe's like, this ain't a field trip, you know? Oh, my. If only you listened. Terry's like, okay, you 2 go to Baghdad. Me and Joe, we'll take Celia and go to Antakya. I guess this is a Chekhov's gun explanation here, because we see the next scene, Laucorn's doing some, like, charity deals. So, as he says, it's not to draw attention to what else we're doing, finding these armor pieces. I guess that's like I said, Chekhov's gun to, like, hey, no cops are ever going to show up to try and stop us and just from going after the rest of the armor and all these, like, clearly open areas. There gotta be, like, museums and shit. They found these things. The girl hench with Laucorn, her name is Pani. She's in the know about Celia and her group somehow. Like, once again, that trope. She even warns another henchman, the slender-looking guy from earlier. Yeah, a pretty boy archetype named Howard, to not underestimate this group. She knows Terry beat Krauser. Howard's like, whatever, Krauser was nothing. I don't fight like him or this other henchman you have here, the big muscly guy named Jammin. Howard's one of those get shit done by any means necessary kind of fighter. They also split into 2 groups. To Antakya in a hotel room, Terry pays for the room and out of his back pocket slips like a Polaroid picture of his dead girlfriend Lily. Terry picks it up and he's like, hey, let's go eat. And the 3 of them, their plan in the morning is like, hey, we're going to go study more info at this nearby library. Joe talks with Terry, like, there's a lot more, like, I guess with a movie, again, you get a lot more, like, exposition with stuff like that. Like, usually the first 2 movies, there was, like, shit going on all the time, and it's just, like, go from one fight to the other, practically. This is a little bit better pace, but again, with, like, the whole trope of, like, them always knowing where the fuck's going on. I mean, they have, like, how do people ever get, like, done? Like, they're doing the thing, like, that Geese used to do when he had his spies going in. Like, they got him, too. I guess because they're not wearing the masks? It's weird. Like, we see guys, like, trail them, but they're not wearing masks or anything, are they? Like, They're wearing masks on the inside? It's weird. Anyway, Joe speaks with Terry about, hey, you're a pretty good fighter. You should take that and go pro. Start making some money. Terry's like, nah, I'm only here to raise my skill level. And we get this weird dub line I didn't get when I first saw it a couple of times, but maybe it makes more sense now. Joe tells Terry, like, okay, so you don't care for money, but you don't gotta live your life like some traveling monk. Money can get you what you need. Terry's like, no, can't buy love, Joe. Joe's like, yeah, that's true, but you'd be surprised how easy it is to rent sometimes. And he's all of a sudden like, hey, yo, Terry, watch your mouth. We got a lady present. Again, didn't get this when I was younger. I think Joe wanted to end the conversation before he stuck his foot in his mouth any further. Like, he either didn't want a Terry comeback or realize, like, oh, she's sitting here. I probably said too much. And it's just like, oh, let's change the subject. Let's do this. Like, whatever. And so he asks Terry, like, hey, you got a girlfriend? And mentions who the girl was in the photo. And Terry's like, no, she died a while ago. Awkward. Anyway, later that night, Terry has another Lily vision, or so I thought. It was a dream. I thought it was just having on that, like, Terry tongue thing going on. Also not appearing in this movie, tongue. And she's like, hey, I'm happy I'm still important to you, but you really should move on, get out there and live again. So he gets woken up by Sulia knocking on his room door, and she's like, I want to apologize. I didn't mean to pry. I just wanted to find out more. And Terry just hugs her and ensures her, like, hey, you can ask me all the questions you want. Let's just do all that in the morning. It's late, so we should all get some sleep. We got a library to go to. And sure enough, that's where our next scene is. Sulia finds information on where the armored piece might be. It's in a police station that was built over some hidden area where troops were stationed. Joe's like, too late. Here's this newspaper article. The police station got blown up. And the picture in the newspaper showcases where the hidden armor piece was. It's like this big ornate box. Like, it has like a lid on it, and the lid's like open. It's like the whole thing's ajar, and it's like empty. Sulia surmises that, hey, I have magic twin power tropes where I can feel the other's whatever, and I know when Laurcorn, when he gets the pieces. I felt it when he got the 3, so he doesn't have it yet. They mentioned 900 years ago, Europeans carried it off, and Terry on a hunch, due to the cave paintings, like, puts 2 and 2 together. It's like, hey, maybe it got moved over to Stroheim Castle, due to Krauser's stance on said paintings. Word of this reaches Jamin as Terry tells Joe, go meet with Andy and Ma to tell them the news. Joe's like, hey, you, at the airport, they're gonna separate. Joe's like, hey, you guys gonna be okay, just the 2 of you? Pulls Terry aside. He's like, hey, dude, Sulia's mad crushing on you. Haven't you noticed? Yeah, I know. And Terry's like, she's just a kid. Maybe when she's older. Damn it. I keep bringing that up. It's funny because she does have blue hair. You're gonna have blue hair. And she's like, oh, whatever. I'm just a kid. Yeah, Sulia's pissed by that. And Terry's like, no, lays on the charm. He's like, oh, I just said that to shut Joe up. A guy would have to be crazy not to fall for you. And she's like, oh, you mean it? I'm like, well, that was fast. And now it's time for everyone's favorite in all these, like, video game-based anime movies that have, like, a higher than, I guess, like, a T or higher. Glorious female fighter shower scene. And once again, like I said, and I think in Fatal Fury 2, Chun-Li set the bar, and Mai Shiranui raises it with full frontal. Oh, so those are aerials. Clearly trying to seduce Andy in their hotel room, and he's just like, I'm gonna do push-ups and crash on the couch. Andy Bogard, he'll wait for marriage. Unfortunately, Mai's been waiting since 1992, when Fatal Fury 2 first came out. Ooh. Gonna be like 3 decades now, man. Anyway, morning comes. Of course, that piece of armor is gone too. They mentioned it was taken to China by Genghis Khan way back when. Joe arrives to tell them the news that they got empty-handed too. Joe takes credit for Terry's finding out in the fighting style paintings. Mai sees through that completely. They're thinking, oh, China, Tung would have known something. Oh, but he's gone now. And he mentions he and Jubei go way back, so... Or did Mai say that? I forget. I think Mai says that. It's like, okay, we'll go find out where he is. Maybe he'll know. Maybe he mentioned something. Larricorn gets the news of the armor piece's new locations and wants to see this Terry Bogard for himself, knowing full well about Terry stealing Sulia's heart. Julia? It's like, oh, that happens in Frankfurt, Germany. So Terry back on his bike from the second movie with Sulia, that gets blown to shit. Jammin takes care of that and then it crashes into a truck with SNK logo on it. Survived a full movie and change. Or full OVA and change. I keep saying movie, but... So he and Jammin face off, and Terry mentions, oh, this Jammin might be as tough or even tougher than Krauser. Burn Knuckle knocks Jammin away in the escape field elevator. That gets blown up. And Terry's already kind of hurting. Larricorn waits for him. He's like, hey, come work for me. And Terry's like, no. Larricorn's like, return my sister. And Terry, again, is like, fuck off. So he gets beat down. Terry's in trouble because the explosions already hurt him, and Jammin overpowering Terry's power wave with his own. So yeah, they have that kind of dichotomy there where it's like, oh, you have all my moves, but it's darker, eviler versions. It's red versus blue kind of. Larricorn goes in for the kill and pulls back when Sulia protects him. She's like, my brother wouldn't do such things. Terry's like, okay, I know this is futile. I give the word, we're getting the fuck out of here. Power geyser! The whole fucking building practically collapses. Or at least enough to have, Larricorn just stand there and no-sell it, use it, with his armor hand to just negate it completely. But, Terry and Sulia fall into, water below, and they escape, via sewer. And Sulia's, literally drag, a bloody Terry away. He's, bleeding all over everywhere. Whew. Oh, Duck King, baby. Yeah, now we're in a nightclub. This next scene where Andy and Mai go to find Jubei. Because of course he would be in one of these. Andy runs into a non-grade up Richard Meyer. Hey, finally. Also, as explained in SNK Wikia, this was it made more sense in Japanese, because I think the voice actress for Nakaroru is also did a song for Mai Shiranui, and she's gonna do some fan servicey shit in the club. But yeah, this Nakaroto cosplayer or whatever, because she's like, oh hey Andy, want to dance? I was like, how does she know who he is? In Mai's place, she wants to dance with him. He looks away, talks to Richard. He looks back over, the Nakaruru cosplayer's hanging on him. And Jubei's like, I'd like you to pick the prettiest girl for yourself, but check out my harem of pretty girls, Miss Papaya, Miss Raspberry. I've got all the Fanta girls. Before Andy can even get any questions, Maya's run off to do dance time for whatever the fucking reason. Seriously, it's just an excuse to get her out there and do more fan service. You get side butt issues conversing later on with somebody. Billy King, dressed all in black, shows up. He's like, hey, Duck, no long time no see. I'm gonna check out the place. And it's like, oh, Andy Bogard. Hey, oh, my guy's here to give you my stick. I'm gonna kill you now. But then he senses Howard and tries to, stab Glass. He goes through that. Howard notices Mai and hits on her. Andy warns her, oh, stay back! Noticing how fast he is moving, literal wind. There's, wind slashes as he's moving about. Mai's like, oh, what's with the mask? Too afraid to show her face, and Howard complies. And he's like, check me out. What you think? And she's like, oh, he's hot. But you ain't Andy. And that is enough to incense Howard to prove he's going to be stronger, more beautiful. When next we meet, your ass is mine. Before Billy shows up to fight Andy, Jubei mentioned a temple where the armor piece is located. After that whole thing, the fight goes down. We, hello, Geese Howard? Get news about what Billy just saw, who is dressed like he would be in Fatal Fury 2 / Special. He's got the Union Jack and the whatchamacallit and everything. So I'm like, cool, awesome. Would have loved to have seen him, fighting that, but no. He gets news, and he's like, why are you interrupting my training with this? Raging Storm! Swears vengeance on Terry, and that's it. That's all we get for Geese. I guess I was trying to lean into like maybe like a fourth movie if it was for Fatal Fury 3, which Geese does play a more prominent role in. But I'll get to that once I actually get to the game next week. Speaking of Terry, he's getting some shirtless time with Sulia, who has to go full body contact. Like, she's wearing like underwear and stuff like that, but she's like, I gotta take almost all my clothes off and just like, full body contact, like heal all of Terry's injuries, because he's like bleeding from like the back and everything. Like his jacket's cut and all that. And so he has like, and so now he gets to dream about the time where he met. I keep wanting to say Sully. What's her name? Lily. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, they mentions Lily and the whole thing that goes down. And then we get to the point where he loses her. You hear a gunshot, and she's like, ah! I'm like, wait, there's a gunshot noise, and she goes flying. I succinctly remember when I covered the first movie that it was a key blast from Goose. That the sound we should have heard was glass breaking when she flew out the fucking window. Afterwards, that's what we should have got, not a gunshot. I'm like, wait, I didn't notice that because I didn't see like the first move when I saw this. I'm like, oh, he just shoots her? Geese could have done way worse. Geese glows as he slowly turns to Loudcorn, and Terry looks up and then looks down. It's like, oh no, now she's become Sully and she's also dead. No. So he wakes from the dream to see Sulia unable to move after that full-on healing. She's like, oh. So like, she spends the time while she's recovering, flashbacking about how her father found the first piece along with a colleague, and that colleague apparently like saw like $, $, so the colleague murdered him and took credit for the find. Loudcorn finds out about this and angrily storms in wanting revenge. He takes a bullet. He's like angry, like, I need to get stronger. And he somehow gets by, like, over to the armor piece, gets it on, incinerates said colleague like he's nothing. Like to nothing, practically. Terry says, I'm more used to fighting for myself, but this is clearly bigger than me. I want to protect you and stop Loudcorn. Next scene in Hebei Province, China, Mai stays outside, all fan servicey, as only she can, outside of a temple, because they don't let women inside. She's like, Howard attacks with his wind to overtake Mai, and he overhears the ruckus. He's like, he's got the armor piece in hand. He's like, wait, what was that noise? He's like, oh shit. Starts running. Finds Howard has her captive. Andy complies. It's like, okay, I'll give you the piece. Just don't hurt her. He tries to sneak in as Anakin and gets beat down for his trouble. Somehow he doesn't get murdered completely by Howard when he has him. Like, yeah, there's like a couple instances of this where it's like, you could have just murdered these guys and been done with this. But the ultimate insult where Howard like forces a kiss on Mai and Andy is pissed. And sure enough, just enough to get pummeled. Speaking of pummeling, time for Lawrence Blood to take another one in Stroheim Castle. Pawnee here to look for the armor's breastplate. Lawrence gets some sword attacks in, but undersells a woman. He's like, You fight well, but you're still a woman. And he just stands there and lets her summon all this water to completely send Blood crashing into the wall. And once again, we get the too strong bit. Joe gets a cool red car and arrives all too late to Germany. They're already taken the piece. Terry and Sulia just behind him. She faints suddenly as Loudcorn places more armor on, stating, only the mask remains now. Lau sends all three. Go get Sulia's pendant. There has to be a clue there. Terry back with the rest of his party, or I guess back in the cave paintings or some temple? It doesn't say. Joe's like, oh, we've already done everything. He hits the wall in frustration and finds a secret passage. And through this, they find the final pieces in the Dead Sea in Israel. Which, of course, the henches immediately find out, which is like the next scene. Jammin's been kind of quiet for the most part, only saying like one or two things for like attacks or whatever. But when like Terry and Sulia escape from Loudcorn the first time, he just looks up and goes, Lady Sulia. Jammin finally like has had enough. He laments like, why continue this fight? Why does Loudcorn want to find the armor pieces? Isn't strength through fighting and skill alone enough? Pawnee like, He's way too strong. I'm not defying that shit. You do what you want. I suggest we all do what's best and we go get Sulia. In Jerusalem, Maya and Sulia have some girl talk while Andy gets some training in, upset about the whole Howard deal, which Maya reveals she let happen just to spite Andy. Fucking bitch. Terry and Joe tying one on with their just like, oh, we're gonna get shit. We're just gonna get drunk. I'm like, aren't you supposed to be finding fucking armor pieces? Like, what is this shit? You're just gonna open yourself up to attack, and exactly that's what that is. But before that, Maya reveals the full details of Terry's last girlfriend, Lily, who was murdered. She's like, Terry feels cursed, and any girl that falls for him is doomed to die. But yeah, Terry and Joe passes out. Terry thinks like, oh, you got too drunk already? But no, Terry's like, oh, I can't breathe. I assume Howard, since he can control wind, can make less air to show up, so they just and all three had just showed up to demand Sulia and the pendant. Sulia's like, okay, I'll go, just don't hurt anybody. Howard tells Jammin, return her to Lauracorn so the dastardly duo of him and Pani can kill Mai. Andy shows up dressed in black. Looks so badass. To even the odds. So, once again, Pani has in a chokehold in Mai, and then she just let's go or something like that, or does she get thrown? I don't remember. It happened so fast. Because I'm so stoked to see Andy about to fuck shit up. One Zanarkand, the mother of all Zanarkand. Zanarkands? Andy Bogart, star player of the Zanarkand News. Don't you. The Zanarkand, it breaks you. So yeah, his whole mask just sent flying and he's done. He gets back up later and just gets pie face in the face for his trouble. As Mai Kacho sends Pani in the side, as she's trying to sneak attack. Oh! And then she Cho Senpu Shinobi Bachi. It's like her fiery super deadly ninja B attack. Her handstand or elbow acrobat shit. That's what she gets for bringing Mai to low health but not finishing the job. You eat that desperation move. So those two make up as Sulia's back with Laocorn's armor activating, knowing, Jammin is located piece number 6. Via Jupe races our heroes. Laocorn makes a temple in the Dead Sea rise where the final piece resides, and hey, Jammin, you stay here at more of these mass dudes and hold these guys off. Terry goes on ahead after Laocorn as the other three handle the mass dudes with relative ease. Terry and Jammin round 2. Burn Knuckle versus Jammin's version of that called Boost Knuckle, I think. Or Boom Knuckle, he says, didn't quite make it out. Terry wins the exchange, wondering, hey, why'd you sandbag just now? Jammin's all, hey, save Laocorn, defeat him for Sulia's sake. Sulia pleads with Laocorn in the meanwhile, hey, don't take that armor. But he's all vengeance crazed, all that shit that happened before was ages ago. But Lao's I guess Lao wants to succeed where Alexander failed? I'll become a god. And she's who's gonna, what's gonna happen when someone takes revenge on you? He's I'm gonna be a god. Who's gonna take revenge on that? And Terry shows up. Just in time to you have a taste of all that fully armored Laocorn godness has to offer. Even the rising tackle, useless. No one expects the rising tackle. He is a god. Lao mentions, I'm beyond human limitations, you can raise your powers, but you can only go so far. I don't suffer that. And before Terry gets it, the other heroes arrive to get worked as they have Mai rescue Sulia. Terry gets back to help Andy and Joe fight him off. Mai runs back in after saving Sulia, mentioning, hey, you can win fights by not through fighting. Tragically doing this by showing up hey, I've stabbed myself. My arm's bleeding. And Laocorn yells in pain. It's oh, my arm! So now the armor licks him that much more. Her taking her own life tragically weakens the armor completely. Terry's sadly goes through and she tells him strike my brother through the breastplate. It's possible now. He straight up burned Knuckles to a godly key blast and the armor's shattered. Sulia says her tearful goodbyes. It's all sad. And Terry tells her he loves her and kisses her. Remember that god awakening when all the pieces are together? That happens. Lao's just upset, I was being used this whole time. Takes a full-on fiery fist, incinerated completely. Things look bad, and then Terry gets Terry gets like that Super Saiyan Zenkai boost type of shit. Like he's enveloped in this blue light. Like I guess this is like the final form of like the Earth. They never mentioned that, but Andy's like, hey, the rest of us gotta stay back and can't fight this thing. That thing's pure energy. Only some energy stronger than it can win against him. And Terry with one punch just does just that. Well, not one punch, but still kind of like back and forth. We get our shot of the heroes. Joe's standing there, probably just glad he didn't spend it like horribly like beat up or in the hospital. Like, oh, he stayed on to like actually fight a god and still like yeah, it's beat up, but nothing like too serious. I would say. But they just like up and leave, and it's just like, oh, the movie's over. Wow, that was abrupt. Nice abs, Terry. No, okay. He throws the hat, but no, it's like, no, solemn. None of this is okay. I've lost like 2 girlfriends. Maybe that's why they couldn't do another movie. It's like they gotta kill off Blue Mary. That would've garnered some hate mail for fucking sure. Killing off to his actual canon. On again, off again, or however that works. So yeah, that was Fatal Fury the motion picture. Again, a lot of cool stuff. Again, I saw this first and have to look back like the first 2 movies that I never saw before until I started doing reviews of it. I was like, interesting. Let's come back to this after how many years has it been since I've seen that movie? I actually tracked it down and have it on a DVD. I don't know what extras would go in there. They also had some pretty cool soundtracks. I would like to see them come back maybe for like later games or something like that. Maybe this gets like a remastering or something like that. I still really want SNK to do a like an open world Southtown kind of game. Like just retell Fatal Fury, but like in like open world RPG kind of setting. How great would that be? Just how busy that place is. How many like. The Southtown more than anything else, there was like the capoeiras and stuff like that, and like in the 70s with Art of Fighting, you had like a Mongolian dock worker in Timjin. I feel like it's just like it's a melting pot. There's like just so many cultures in there. You got like ninjas, capoeira, stuff like that. It's all like this one big like island area. Like I guess people just like coming in from like. It's like a modern day like immigration paradise. It might be like Ellis Island, but like violence. So yeah, it's back to game stuff for me for Friday. One more go of it at Fatal Fury 3 because I know I can do because after that I know I can do like get like endings for like the rest of the game. Fatal Fury 3 is gonna be another one and done. Spoiler alert. Never was any good at that. That game's still in that era of like impossibly difficult. Neo Geo games before they dial it down a little bit and make it a little bit more manageable. So yeah, join me next week when I tackle Fatal Fury 3. Take care, and thanks for watching.